got it in the right spot. Okay. First off, I had a notice from the mail like home today. Oh, that doesn't do it justice. Anyways, I got a poster in that corner now of Doctor Who. Up first. I have my flying V here. Skate logo. Skate logo. I'm all set to watch what's probably going to be the last game of the Canucks season. And it's funny because acknowledging it could be the last game of the season, I don't think changes how I am as a fan. In fact, I think acknowledging that your team has faults is big. But look at it this way. I've always tried to be even keeled. You know, I always wanted to be a GM, a coach when I was a kid. And I've always, you know, even when I was, you know, not even a teenager yet, I was analyzing trades and who I thought won what trade and what would be good and what wouldn't. And I would come up with trades in my head like, okay, you can move this guy for this guy. And, like, I had a lot of ideas. I still do that. And I take the emotion out of it as much as I can. Like, in the moment when you're watching a game, there's going to be a lot of emotion. Like, for anybody in Nashville tonight, I mean, if Chicago wins, Nashville's out. And so far, it looks like my predictions are going to be pretty spot on. Before the playoffs started, I said Winnipeg is not able to match up against Anaheim. I said I didn't know why so many people were taking Winnipeg to win the series. Some were even taking Winnipeg to win the Cup. And I'm like, whoa. I had video proof that my Stanley Cup predictions were along the lines of, you're crazy. The only first-round series that I thought looked like a blowout on paper and just realistically was the Ducks against the Jets. Because they're the Thrashers. And now they've fallen to no wins and 8 losses in their franchise's history. It's sad. It is. But they didn't deserve that game last night. They did nothing to show that they were ready to come back. And Ottawa showed a lot of fight, and they looked great against Montreal, and they haven't given up. Tomorrow night, sure, maybe they lose tomorrow night and they're out and it's over, but Ottawa showed a lot of fight, and you got to be happy about that. If Nashville goes out tonight, it's going to be frustrating for them too. Like, and you hear this, you know, as a Canucks fan, it would be great to be rah rah rah, but I'm not, and I'm not unrealistic. There's one team out of 30 that wins the Stanley Cup. So in any given season, at the start of the year, you have a 3% chance of being a Stanley Cup champ. Now, if you make it into the playoffs, you're 1 in 16, so you're down to about a 7% chance of winning the Stanley Cup. 12% chance if you get to the second round. It is a game where 29 teams are going to end their season disappointed. 14 that miss the playoffs, and the other 15 lose their last game of the year. There's no way around it. The only team that doesn't lose their last game of the year and isn't disappointed is the Stanley Cup champion. And there are certain fans who think that's it or bust. And I've had that argument before where it's like, well, your franchise sucks if you've never won the Stanley Cup. No, it doesn't. Carolina's won the Cup once. Does that make them a better organization than the Canucks or the Blues? No. It means they won the Cup once. Dallas won the Cup in '99. I don't look back 15 years ago and go, oh, well, you know, or 16 years ago now. I don't look back 16 years ago and go, hey, this is clearly proof that Dallas is a better organization than the Canucks. Because that simply is not true. And the organizations have completely changed since then. The Canucks have all new management, and Dallas has all new management. Like, it's a fluid thing. The idea of sports franchises. So you look at the Boston Red Sox, for instance, in baseball. This is the best example I can think of. For 100 years, almost 100 years, they lived under the curse of the Bambino, that they traded Babe Ruth to the Yankees for nothing. The Yankees became, well, the Yankees, and the Red Sox never won the World Series again until 10 years ago. And now, The Red Sox winning the World Series, it's not considered that big of a surprise. The curse of the Bambino is kind of forgotten in the past, and that went on for almost 90 years. The idea that the Vancouver Canucks, if they lose tonight, well, that's it. I'm done. I'm ripping all their stuff up. That is so simple-minded and short, like close-minded. And it's really short-term thinking, and maybe with sports fans now we have that. I see the bigger picture. One of the reasons that I wear this jersey with pride isn't just because I think it's creative, and I do. I think the Flying V jersey in general is it ugly, probably, but the Canucks lost a lot of games in this with heart. There were a lot of games that Vancouver lost because they just weren't talented enough, but they never rolled over. They were a team that consistently finished near the bottom of the standings, but they fought. They fought hard. And you know, that's all that mattered to me. That's why I was always a fan of the Canucks. It wasn't winning or losing. They fought. And part of the reason I was glad to get rid of Kessler is exactly what today they were interviewing the Ducks coach Bruce Boudreau on Bob McCown. And he was talking about how great Ryan Kessler's been and how hard he fights. And then he said, last year in Vancouver, the Canucks were kind of pushovers, and Kessler didn't have the fight he has in Anaheim. That's Kessler's problem. That's why I wanted to get rid of Kessler a few years ago. Because I noticed, when he wants to play, he's great. But when he doesn't give a shit, he is useless. And he actually makes your team worse. He's having a great time in Anaheim. Why? They're the #1 team in the West. They're stars. They're young. They have all the makings of a team that's going to be at or near the top for years. He was happy in Vancouver, too, until things started to fall. And when the Canucks started to fall from contender to middle of the pack, he wanted out. Oh, I don't want to be in Vancouver anymore. And not only that, but then he goes to the GM and he's like, I'll accept a trade to, I think it was 3 teams he gave him. I think it was Chicago, Philly, and Anaheim. I could be wrong. I know Anaheim was one of the 3. That's where he went. And I'm pretty sure Philly was one of the 3. And it's disgusting. If you're being paid $5 or $6 million a year, and you're not motivated to bust your ass every night, who cares if your team's winning or losing? When you're on the ice, and you're in front of 16,000, 17,000 screaming fans who've paid to see your team, bust your ass to play the game. I want to see effort. And as long as these guys who are doing their warm-up right now, as long as these guys make that effort, I will cheer for them. If you want to measure whether a team's a success or not by championships, go right on ahead. It means Edmonton hasn't been a success since 1990. It means the Washington Capitals have never been a success. Buffalo Sabres, never. St. Louis, never. Dallas, once in almost 50 years. The Kings, twice in almost 50 years. The Rangers, once in 75 years. If that's the measuring stick, then you have to measure every team the same way. And you have to criticize every fan base the same way. And it's a stupid way to measure. At the end of the year, yes. You can look and go, the Stanley Cup champion, that's what we all want to be. But you can't all be the Stanley Cup champion. But as long as the team puts in effort. And part of what gets me with this series against Calgary, it's not effort. It's that the Flames are trying to play, I'm not going to say dirty hockey, because it's not dirty. They're not cheating. But they're playing a really physical, grinding sort of game. And they're clearly trying to get under the Canucks' skin, and it's working. And that's what drives me nuts. When I see veterans on the Canucks getting riled up by a rookie from Calgary, it's like, oh boy, we're in for a bad series. And even when they won Game 2, I thought this series was turning against the Canucks. Because they were getting sucked into Calgary's game. Calgary was controlling the mood of the game. Calgary was really not impressing me. But the Canucks were impressing me less. I don't know. Like, if Calgary wins tonight, what happens when they play Anaheim? I think Anaheim whoops Calgary. I don't think Calgary's going to pose much more of a threat than Winnipeg did. They're a little more talented than Winnipeg, but they're also smaller than Winnipeg. So if it turns into a grinding series, Anaheim's going to win that. But it's a funny thing as a hockey fan, because you've got, it's effort. The Flying V was about a team that made the effort. That's why I wear this jersey with pride. That's why I cheer for hockey players and hockey teams. And my loyalties aren't always just to the team. Sometimes it's to that guy in that jersey. Because sometimes I'll watch a game, and depending on the kind of play we're watching, like Mike Ribeiro, Nashville, I hate the guy. Because he dives, he fakes injuries, he cheap shots people, and then he turtles, so he won't even fight back. He plays a dirty game, and he has for years. And he plays when he feels like it. So if his team isn't doing all that well, he kind of just slides into oblivion. I don't like those players. I will never cheer for those players. So when I'm watching a Chicago game against Nashville, and I should be cheering for Nashville because the Predators have never won anything, and there are players in Nashville I like. But I see Ribeiro doing that. And then I watch the Blackhawks with guys like Taves and Kane, who play their asses off. A guy like Duncan Keith, who's a warrior, and plays every single shift like it's his last in the NHL. And the Blackhawks win the game in overtime. It is hard for me not to cheer. Not because it's the Blackhawks. I'm not a Chicago fan. But these playoffs have me on the fence. I'm pretty sure I'm going to buy a Blackhawks jersey this year. I'm pretty sure I'm finally going to replace the Chicago jersey I have with a hole in it. Why? Because Chicago has a lot of grit, a lot of heart, and they never take a night off. But they win because of their effort. And when Ribeiro does his crap, I've been watching him in this Nashville series, and what I don't understand is this. He skates around the ice with this big grin on his face. Like he gets Chicago ticked off, and then he skates around like, look what I did. You're losing the series, Ribeiro. You can't skate around the ice and smirk and, oh, aren't we awesome, when you're losing the series. This is why Alex Burrows drives me nuts in Vancouver. Burrows is one of the worst for, ooh, I'm going to get the other team all pissed off. Okay, can we win first? You want to get the other team pissed off? Fine. Play the game, get a lead, get a big lead, and then mock them all you want. But until you've done that, play your game. And I'm sorry, but if I'm in Chicago and Ribeiro starts pulling that crap tonight, I'm gonna do one of these. I have 2 Stanley Cup rings. How many do you have? I'm gonna point at the scoreboard and go, hey, you lose tonight, you're out. You have to beat us 3 times in a row, twice after tonight, if you can survive tonight. It's not going to happen. That's what I love about hockey. And that's why sometimes my favorite teams may change. The top 3 are going to stay the same. It's going to be Vancouver, Boston, Dallas. But the teams behind there move around. And they move around because players change. And sometimes I'm not a huge fan of the Canucks. Sometimes I look at players on the Canucks and I'm like, wow, I can't wait till they trade this guy, because he drives me nuts. I don't like the way he plays. He plays dirty. He plays soft. He doesn't play every night. He plays when he feels like it. Not good. That's bad for sports. And when you see these guys getting contracts of $6-7 million, it's frustrating. Because now a GM is rewarding them for that behavior, and they get even worse. Even when they get bought out, they're still cocky because they know somebody else is going to sign them to another contract just about as stupid as the one they just got bought out of. So yeah, I got kind of the hockey vibe going on. And I think back to a year ago when I was heartbroken, I was upset, and I didn't watch any of the playoffs last year. This year, I got my Plan B on. I'm talking hockey and why I love what I love. And its character. Uh-oh. Overtime between the Detroit. Tampa wins in overtime. Oh, my $20 at work. That series is tied 2-2 now, and the next 2 out of 3 are in Detroit. Now in Tampa. That's interesting because Detroit had a 2-0 lead going into the third period. They never blow a 2-0 lead at home. They did. And what got me with that game was Detroit fans really celebrating early and throwing octopi on the ice early. And I'm thinking, there's still a game left. And the thing I don't understand when fans do stuff like that is you're giving a break to the other team. So let's say Detroit scores to make it 2-0 and you throw a couple octopi on the ice, the multiple octopus. You're not only getting fans fired up and, yay, aren't we awesome? You're giving Tampa a break. You're letting their coaches get a plan. They can drop on the board and go, all right, we've got this break because they got to clean all this crap off the ice. Here's what I want you guys to do. And Tampa's extremely talented. And if their offense gets going, and apparently it just did, they can come back. And now the series is tied at 2, so they can beat Detroit. Oh, and then they could beat Montreal. If they play Montreal in the next round, it could be because they want revenge. Last year, Montreal swept them, and they want revenge. It's sort of like this Vancouver-Calgary series. I could easily see them meeting again next year in the playoffs, and the Canucks knocking them out. It's a fun time. It's a fun time. I'm still keeping my optimism. Venus was talking to me about that today. I had a few things happen today that could have tried my optimism and caused me to start having some doubts, but I shall keep it. I shall keep it, and I shall enjoy life just for being life, and just for Doctor Who posters. And it's interesting. I got my ID in part because I get all these packages in the mail, and you got to prove who you are, who you say you are when you go to Canada Post or you go to UPS. I've had 3 packages since I got my new ID. I've been asked for my ID no times out of those 3. None. 0. None. I got my ID now. I'm fine. Anybody else see it? Nah. Alrighty. I'm gonna go watch some hockey. I might even watch hockey on the right side of the screen while I play NHL on the other. And I might take these guys to the Stanley Cup on my game. And I will soon have a video up of my kitties, like Linkers here. Hi, Link. Say hi. Link. 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 Say hi. Oh, you old fart. You're just going to sit there with your feet hanging over? If I touch his paws, he will scratch me. His paws are just dangling off the edge of the couch. Hey, Link. Kitty. Link. 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 His ears are going flat because he knows his name. Link. 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 He's going to scratch me. Linkers. Hey, kitty. How are you? You old fart? Big fat kitty? Hi. You can talk to me? What? You can talk to me? Oh, he doesn't care. I will say this. I've seen a lot of posts lately on Facebook from people who've lost pets recently. And I appreciate my cats. I do. I greatly appreciate my cats. And my son. And what I have. And yeah, I feel good. And again, optimism about this coming summer. It's gonna be a good summer. Alrighty, the Canucks game's getting started. I wonder if there's any flying V's in that crowd. Oh, they got Greg Adams there. Awesome. So I don't even need to see numbers. I don't need to see on the back of jerseys. Oh, who's that? I know these guys to see their faces. Not a Canucks fan. Commitment issues. Some people's kids. I bled red, yellow, and black for 35 years. Sometimes I just get tired. Because it's hard when you see all these fans and they're so excited and all these players going out there and you're watching going, it's probably over tonight. And that's the feeling I get tonight. I hope I'm wrong. I want to be wrong. So, but I'll be flipping back and forth between this and the Chicago game because I want to watch Mike Ribeiro cry one more time. Prick. Alrighty. I wish everybody a fantastic Thursday night and a great upcoming weekend. Talk to you later, people of YouTube.